I'm Elaine Sims. I'm on the campus of St. Catherine's College here in Springfield, Kentucky, in the Emily W. Hundley Library. Today I have Dr. Sean Lucas, new face on campus, and he's with the agriculture program, which we have been talking about for about, I guess, almost 2 years now. But I still think it's something that we need to impress upon all of our audience what this program is all about and what our goals are. Welcome to St. Catherine's.
Thank you.
You originally from?
Originally, I'm from Pennsylvania. I got here via several stops. I was up at upstate New York where I did an undergraduate in microbiology, and I ended up working in the greater Washington, D.C. area for a while as an editor for like one of the companies. It was called Cambridge Scientific Abstracts. That they are basically a storehouse for compiling data and from research articles, and I was the guy that picked out all the keywords that when people would type in into a search engine a keyword, hopefully the right thing would come up.
Okay. You were like their Wikipedia.
Sort of. Nobody edited me like you can edit Wikipedia, but and then I ended up at University of Maryland studying soil science. I kind of got into soil science by accident. Wanted to go on studying microbiology, but in an environmental sense, where I could study indicators of environmental disturbance through studying changes in microbial communities. And I applied to University of Maryland, and they said, well, we don't have anybody in our graduate program in microbiology that does that, but there's this guy over in soil science that does stuff kind of like that. And I ended up in soil science, working for Dr. Ray Weil, who was very influential as both a scientist mentor and an educational mentor. He was a wonderful teacher, is a wonderful teacher, and really inspired a passion for teaching in me after and also he was one of the first people that had a sustainable agriculture course at one of the land grant institutions. They made him call it alternative agriculture, I think, at the time.
And when you say land grant institutions, I think a lot of people don't understand. In the early days, the U.S. government gave property.
That's correct. They gave property to, on a state basis, I guess, solely or largely for the purpose of studying agricultural.
And in Kentucky, Kentucky State University?
K-State and UK.
And UK.
We have two of them
two land grants.
in
so there's
Kentucky.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes people don't understand how old these land grant institutions are.
I think they're 1865 and 1890 was when they founded most of the land grants.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. So after Maryland, I went to Ohio State for a couple years, but transferred to UK and finished out a PhD at UK, working for Dr. Mark Williams and Dr. Lisa D'Angelo. Really had a great experience at UK. I was able to really get down to the nitty-gritty of some questions on soil structure and how farmers can better manage and promote soil structure through management practices on their farms. And all through this time I had been focusing on best management practices so that we can farm in an environmentally or learn how to farm in an environmentally friendly way.
Yeah. So in other words, try not to put things into the soil that's going to affect change the environment because it's a chemical.
Or try to put things into the soil that will hopefully build your soil resource in terms of building natural organic matter, natural nutrient cycling, natural soil structure that's great for promoting healthy plants. Last year I finished my PhD at UK in 2013, and then immediately was lucky enough to jump into a job right in Lexington, which is where I currently live, at a Montessori middle school in Lexington that has a farm program associated, they call it the land program, associated with their school, and it was a great experience. I was working with middle schoolers, taking them out on the land 4 days a week, and we took things from seed to market. We raised chickens for egg production. We had a berry program, but not as in Wendell berry program, but blackberry
Yeah,
program
yeah.
where we harvested blackberries and made jam out of it.
I bet the students loved it.
It was a super experience. It was good for me to sort of hone a lot of my teaching skills, and it was wonderful working with that level of student on, out in the landscape and getting them to get their hands dirty and to teach them a little bit about, the environment and taking care of the land, and letting them know there's more to an education than just sitting in a classroom, having information thrown at you. So it was a really good experience, and I ended up here then, this position at St. Catherine's. I feel super fortunate to have been hired in the position I'm in right now. It's really a job that if I could have kind of drawn up a job that I would like to do, it is very much what was the description for this job. I knew I had to apply for it. I was very happy in the middle school position that I was in, but I knew when I saw this position come open I had to apply for it. And I'm thrilled to be here in the Berry program, working with Dr. Baynes and with the rest of the faculty here at St. Catherine's. And I've been here for 2 months officially now, almost 2 months. It'll be 2 months at the beginning of October. And it really is almost I've heard it described as a family atmosphere. I've really felt that. Everybody kind of knows everybody. I felt very supportive, have had support when I've needed it, but I'm also given enough intellectual free reign that I feel like it's a really good place for me to be.
Good.
And we have this neat farming program that we're trying to develop and get off the ground. And I think we're making some progress in that area.
Is that I know it's not your primary purpose, but that's one of your goals coming here is to get the farming program off the.
It's a high priority goal, yes, to
yeah.
get the farming program.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about what do you foresee, and let's start at the first steps. How do you see it changing from what it is now to what you'd like to see it be?
Well, I really need to before I got here, Dr. Baynes was pretty much running the show for the program, and she has done a tremendous job.
And it was a big job.
Putting this program together, and as I've said, I'm thrilled to be a part of it now. She has really laid the groundwork for a good program, and I need to give her all the credit that is due for what she's done. We have a very interdisciplinary program. In other words, we integrate both sciences and humanities and the arts all play roles in our program.
Mm-hmm.
It's separated into community-oriented aspects and also more of a plant and soils stewardship aspect, which is primarily where I'm going to be. We both work along with other faculty in getting all these interdisciplinary factors in. She is going to, now that I'm here, take over a lot of the community-driven aspects and a lot of the plant and soil stewardship. With my background in soil science, it seems to be a natural fit for me. But with the program itself, we really want to ground ourselves in the idea that we've lost touch with the landscape and how we have our food produced. People have sort of lost that connection to the land, and we really want to be able to sort of reconnect that, especially with people who want to go on in a career in agriculture, whether it's a community-oriented career or whether it's a production-oriented career, young farmers. And so, we call it a major in homecoming, and that's kind of grounded in, the ideas of Wendell Berry that he laid the groundwork for with his 1977 novel Unsettling of America. He lays out a lot of these ideas that people have lost this connection to the land, and the way that food is being produced is not in the best interests of communities and people in general, with the corporate control of it.
Right.
So we really want to get people to think about where their food comes from, and we really want to get people to think about the social and economic impacts of the food system right now, and how we can manage it best to meet the social, economic, and environmental aspects of what we see as the future of agriculture.
Well, you know, being a lifetime resident of Kentucky and watching how it has changed from the huge dairy farms that we used to see. And I guess as a child I didn't think about crop farms as much as there were so many dairy farms here. And I don't know that there's maybe 2 or 3 in Washington County now. Also, Washington County is a very desirable spot for people to buy small farms because of, you know, we are, as the early pioneers, you know, we are the Eden of the West, and we have all this great wildlife. So you're seeing a lot of things broken up into small areas. The farms are gone. And then, but I do think, you know, there is a move for people to raise things in their own backyard. And I think, you know, raised beds, you just see people realizing it not just economically, but also to teach their children to appreciate. I have a great compost pile. Whenever my grandchildren come, as soon as they walk in, I say, guess what I need for you to do? I know, Mimi, take this stuff to the compost pile. Because we go to it twice a day, and there's only 2 of us in the house. It's hard for me to leave potato peels at my daughter's house. You know, I want to bring them home and put them in the compost pile.
The next
but
step
they've
is
learned that.
The next step is to get them trained in turning it, right?
Yeah. But it's you know, but they do. I mean, I think they really are beginning. It's just, I don't do a lot, but I do think that they're interested. I think, and it's early. We're talking about kindergarten, preschool, you know, but they learn early. And I see them, you know, raising seeds at school and bringing them home. And my grandson had sugar snap peas. I mean, he only had 4 this winter, but he had a beautiful vine. But I do think there's interest in it. I do think there's interest, but I think people think, oh, how do you do that, and so on. And you know, we're hopefully St. Catherine's, with what we're trying to do is here with the berry programs, encourage people. Put in a couple of raised beds. Try it. You know, I'm not always successful, but it sure is fun watching it grow.
Sure, and you know, that's one of the things that we like to think about, you know, is in losing the connection to the land, you know, we are losing the knowledge of how to do that, and it's slowly but surely that knowledge is being, you know, concentrated into a smaller group of people.
Yes.
And we would like to, for people who want to get some of that knowledge back into their daily life and be able to do some of those things, we want to be able to help them and educate.
Well, and I think a good key to what is we're trying to do here at St. Catherine's, I say we, but I'm just do this program. But when you go to the supermarket, look at the label on those fruits and vegetables you're buying, and look at where they're from. It's eye-opening to see so many of them are not raised in the United States, and it's stuff that's native to this area.
Yeah,
it's just, I mean, really, people just need to be aware of that. And then you can kind of understand, so why are we trying to bring things back home? Why are we trying to bring it back here?
And a lot of the trick with that is knowing what is in season, because we're, you know, with the modern agriculture has certainly blessed us with a cornucopia of products that we can get on the shelf. If we want to get, you know, an apple in the springtime, we can go get an apple in the springtime, but that's not really when apples come into season in Kentucky. So,
well, it's being raised a Catholic, and the audience is going to love this. You know, what we always gave up for Lent was watermelon, because there was no watermelon during Lent when I was young. That was unheard of. So you always said, "What are you giving up for Lent?" We're giving up watermelon. We didn't eat watermelon in the winter. And now, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of people out there to laugh about that, but it's the truth, you know. And we everything to walk into some of these markets. It's unbelievable what's available year round.
It's true.
Unbelievable.
But the flip side of that we don't see is the cost in transportation, the environmental cost in fossil fuel consumption. You know, to get all these things here out of season, we need to expend a lot of resources.
It would have to be, and you think of what this country. I picked up an apple the other day, and it was from South Africa. And I told the lady in the store, I said, I guess she thought, look at this apple. They brought it here from South Africa. I thought, you know, I said, just think about that.
When your food has traveled more than you have, you have to wonder.
So, I mean, this to me helps to, you know, really, hopefully, it gives one more example of what this berry program, why it's trying to do what it's doing, and what it's doing, you know, because we're trying to bring it all home. Let's bring it home, and let's do our seasonal things. In the fall, we eat root crops. You know,
Yeah, and it's part of what we talk about is how, as consumers, we're all part of the of agriculture. We are part of agriculture, whether we think about it or not,
Absolutely.
as consumers. And we really want to not only, focus on, how producers can best manage, but we want to think about how consumers can educate themselves on, what is in season, what is local, what is healthy as far as containing, a lot of the nutrients that you want to.
Right, and just
feed
studying
yourself.
foods and know what's the best things to blend. Right now, as you well know, I mean, with these food networks and all these cooking channels, the sky's the limit with what you can put together. It's just there's no limits. But again, I love these shows where they give you 5 ingredients. It'd be great if in a home situation in the fall you take 5 ingredients that are local, that are available in the fall, and work with those for a week. And I have one daughter that does that, and so you work your whole menu around those 5 ingredients. And it's amazing what you can come up with with a little imagination, and also with the exposure to the internet and looking up recipes. Recipe for beets and arugula.
And that's what your traditional kitchen was like.
Yes.
A century ago.
And the flavors. What the thing is, when you're fortunate enough to be exposed to that, the flavors are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's just something new to our palate because we're used to having watermelon in the winter and cantaloupe year round, and honeydew, and there's a new restaurant in Barstown, and it's garden to table food, and it's all local foods, and it's very interesting to see. It's not just steak and potatoes.
Yeah.
It's what's available in the markets. It's interesting.
Well, I think that our program is timely in coming when it has been offered, because there is really a lot of there's a groundswell of people who really want to start learning about this stuff. I live in Lexington, and I see we have 3 or 4 farmers markets springing up. They're not springing up now; they're established now.
Yes, you have great farmers markets.
And Louisville has got its own burgeoning urban agriculture scene. But we also want to really think about the people who have come up from a rural background and want to maintain that lifestyle that they've grown up with, but they want to know the best way to do it without harming the environment,
or bring it back,
or
where they came from.
Exactly, or how to stimulate a good local food economy and promote a good community sense in that local region.
Right,
so
right.
That's really what we're about.
I visited our local produce market yesterday. It's the first time I'd been there, and everything there was it had been picked yesterday morning. And, it was just amazing. It was beautiful. The green beans are sitting on my stove, simmering right now. But it's just sometimes you do pay a little bit more. But the thing is, you're buying specific things for when you're exposed to the grocery store with all the extra things. You're going to focus on the things that you're going to eat, and not really. I'm going to say junk food or soda pop, but you're not walking into that arena, so you're not tempted. Klondike bars are on sale. They don't have those at the farmers markets.
But they have a lot of other good things.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
My kids love going to the farmers markets up in Lexington, and they can usually
I do too.
they can usually coerce us into picking up something.
Yeah, I do too. As I understand, last year when the program started, we had the 3 international students, and then we had Winnie from Campbellsville. And this year, is my understanding, we have 11 students?
We are up to 11 students now. That is correct. We have one from New York State who is in the program now. We have a few more local kids. One who
which is wonderful.
Yes. And we have another fellow from who's come in from Florida. He's on the basketball team.
Really?
Yeah, but he's really
coming into the program.
And he's in the program. He's really, as an athlete, he thinks about healthy living and healthy eating, to promote his athletic lifestyle. And so he's really interested in where his food comes from. And so he found a good fit.
Well, the striking young lady that I saw last night when we had an art exhibit here from the Congo, who is, I'd love to have her on the show, Ruth.
Ruth, yes.
Yeah, it's just, she was one of those you think, wow, and she's in the ag program.
Yep, yep.
So St. Catherine's has still been able to draw students through the berry program, which I know is Leah Baines' dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
People are hearing about it and they're coming. You know, I think in the beginning people thought, now who's going to do this? But, you know, it's...
And our goal was to make it something, we want to make it something special for people to come here and learn about this type of agriculture. You know, and you mentioned raised beds. We are trying to get some raised beds put in on campus. We are going to put some raised beds on campus, and we've got the lumber. We've got students in my organic crop production class that are going to be putting it together most likely next week, as long as we can get all the hardware sorted out. And we've got transplants ready to go in the ground for that, for some fall greens, kale, radishes. We've got a zesty salad mix, some red leaf lettuce, and I think some green leaf lettuce. So, I mean, it's exciting for us to have that coming along shortly, and that'll give us another tool where we can talk about or put into practice some of the things that we talk about in the classroom. And our ultimate goal is to get some land shortly that we can actually put a bigger production facility on.
Well, and I know that you're here this month, and the beds are not ready to go yet. But I can see I'm sure we have many viewers out there who are, it's only 2 people left in the household or so forth, and they say, well, so what would you do with a raised bed? I mean, I think it would be great if we could visit that area, because for 2 people, a raised bed could give them a lot of food.
Yeah.
Almost year round.
Yeah.
Almost year round.
Yeah.
And I know they think, well, that's impossible for me to do. I think, you know, one mistake that I know someone that just put in several raised beds, they didn't have a water source. So this was a best summer for them. So I think it's important to have it somewhere where you can get some water to it.
That's important. Water and good management of your, you know, it's management of your soil is important, you know, but it's not that hard. Last summer, I had a special group of middle school kids, but I had middle school kids running 7 raised beds, and we were taking things from seed to market, selling our produce in restaurants in Lexington. And so with just a little bit of thought and care, you can do pretty well with the raised bed.
Well, you know, and maybe this will be some incentive for some people to look into this. But
I hope
also, it would be great with our audience if there could come a time when, if you don't know how to do that, you could call one of these students. You could call here on campus and ask to talk to somebody and say, you know, where do I start with this? Because for people that can't get to the market, or that are really are used to having farm-raised foods and feel like that it's not manageable for them to do a large garden, it doesn't have to be a big garden. You can do one twice the size of this table, deep. That would be a lot. That would be a lot of stuff.
Yep. And as long as you learn a little bit about, you know, rotating crops in seasonally and rotating crops out, and doing a little bit of maintenance, like I said, of your soil, adding things like compost and manures, maybe throw in a cover crop in the winter that you incorporate into your soil in the spring, you can really generate a vibrant garden that'll give you some good produce.
Well, and it would be nice for the community to kind of be able to grasp the berry program, and maybe next year people could possibly come on campus and see how to do that. It would be a great outreach for the community.
I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it.
That would be great. I don't think you thought this was going to lead to that when you came
well,
today. But it would be great.
Suspect
it would be great. It would be great.
But that's why I'm here. You know, I want to talk to people about it. I enjoy talking about this stuff. So I'm always happy to talk to people about it. And hopefully the next time you're here, we'll have these raised beds put together and we can show you something.
That would be great.
You know,
that'd be great. And maybe next month we can do a 10-minute visit and see what's happened.
We're getting in a little late in the season, but since we're growing fall greens, we should still be able to hopefully get some nice...
And you never know what the weather's going to do in Kentucky.
We are in Kentucky.
I run the air conditioner. It's Christmas
We
sometimes.
are in Kentucky.
They say we are going to have a winter like last year's, which is kind of a... But I still think this program, no matter what, every time we do something about the berry program, I think it still gives people a little more insight about what it is. You know, in the beginning, what did I think it was? I thought Wendell Berry was bringing all of his library here, you know. So it's not. It's an agriculture program, and we're trying to teach people how to save the earth by not using too many chemicals and by using what's in your own, what's available to you, and not feel like it's just an undertaking that's impossible, because it's really not.
It's not impossible, no. I mean, we want to focus on the social aspects of it and promoting a healthy community. We want to focus on environmental aspects of it, just trying to farm in ways or produce even in the garden in ways that are just will not harm your environment. And you know, and there is an economic aspect to it too. If a person wants to be a farmer, well, they darn well should be able to make a living being a farmer, farming the way that they want to farm. You know, there's a lifestyle and economic component to it too.
And I'm sure almost everybody in our viewing audience would have heard the Kentucky Proud label that goes on a lot of things, and this is a good example of an extension of that. Just, you know, or maybe they're going to be extension of the Berry program.
We've actually just got done talking with the Farms to Schools program, where it's a program about getting locally produced, locally sourced food into your cafeterias, and Peggy Switzer does a great job at that already. She's ahead of the curve on that and what's going on down in the Spalding Center, and I think a lot of her offerings are Kentucky Proud offerings, and so we're very fortunate to have that going on. And so, but we're trying to expand upon that and be a bigger part of that Farms to Schools program and Kentucky Proud.
Well, I don't know if this interview is what you thought it was going to be, because I wasn't real sure.
It's been great.
But I think it's gone really well, and I love every time we bring somebody in from the Berry program, because I think it's just, you know, it's a pioneer. We're a pioneer, and Wendell Berry chose us, which is pretty wonderful.
Well, I'm very thrilled to be a part of the Berry program. Like I said, I'm new, but I hope to really expand on what's already been done and take it new places and make it something special.
Well, Leah Baines had her hands full. I know that.
Yes,
and
she
it's
did.
great that they were able to bring you on board, because bringing in 7 more students, and with the caseload she had and what she was doing, and you bring your expertise to a program it's already gotten off to a great start. But wow, she had a big job. Big job.
She did, and she's done a great job. She's done a great job.
She continues to.
And she's I think it's going to be a program that, as it grows, it's going to be the seeds that she has planted are going to reap some good rewards. I think. And
for these students that are international, I think she was a mother to 3 students last year. So now you get to be a father to the girl from the Congo, and
she's an English professor, a department chair, and an international student liaison, all rolled into one. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Lucas, and we look forward to seeing you again. And really, we'll see what the weather does. We can always visit the gardens in November, October, and November, and let's see what's going on.
We'll probably be putting cover crops in them in November, hopefully. So.
And it'd be great to do a 10-minute blurb, and let's talk about what you're going to put in the spring, so people like me can know what to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
it was great.